Roblox games are weird. Like, okay, I know there's Dress to Impress or Tower Defense Simulator or Blox Fruits. Those all seem pretty normal. But those are just some of the games you see on Roblox's front page. The ones 99% of people play. Yet they make up such a tiny percentage of all the actual games on the platform. One day, I had an idea. I decided to visit and track my experience with 100 randomly chosen games to see what kind of weird stuff I could find. To do this, I used the game Super Place Roulette, which basically just generates a random place ID and sends you to it. I found a lot of slop, a couple scams, a few actually good games, a few slightly foreboding ones, and most of all, a lot of peculiar stuff. I may or may not have somehow rolled like a 1 in a gazillion chance place, I'll come back to that later. But first of all, you might wonder exactly how many of the 100 games were, actually real games, and how many were just empty base plates or Roblox Studio templates. Well, there was a lot of schlock. Out of all the games, 14 of them were just empty base plates of various colors. And the thing was, these places would always have such cool sounding titles. Beastly Shores Beach, The Man of the Sea, Naruto Battle plays 4 character. So I'd be kind of interested, and then I would spawn in and just go, There was one exception to this, but I'll come back to that game later. We also have to get out of the way the games which were literally nothing. There were 5 of these in total, games 3, 24, 37, 80, and 92, which just again, were pretty much nothing. That's not even the end of the slop though, because there's also generic templates. Basically, there's some little pre-built games you can freely select in Roblox Studio, so you can quote-unquote make a functional game without actually doing anything yourself. Very cool. The types of templates I found did vary. There were some retro ones like the Big City, the Yellow House one with no floor, or of course the classic Happy Home of Robloxia. And I also ran into my fair share of the modern templates, like this boring one, the racing one, the auto runner one where the creator deleted 90% of the thing. There were a few where the developer did customize them a little bit. Like in game 16, the creator heavily militarized the town of Robloxia template. Alrighty. I see we've trained the best and brightest for this task force. Other than that though, none of these were really all that interesting. In total, I ran into 16 template games. So, combined with the others, that's already 35 games which were essentially nothing. So this very small sample size would suggest that about a third of all Roblox games are just empty garbage games, which honestly feels like a generous rate if anything. But now we can actually start to get into the real games. Kind of. There's definitely levels to the quality of the games I found, and before we can get into, the spooky sewer level, or the stupid Hello Neighbor game, or the Among Us tycoon, we first have to go through some not so good stuff. A huge amount of these games were just like base plates with a bunch of free models spammed everywhere. Game 2 was just this. Game 5 was this. Although this game does give you a pop-it in your hotbar, so look at my pop-it. That's so cool. Games 9, 10, 12, 19, 23, there's a bunch more, I don't want to list them all. To put it simply, they were all pretty bad. There were a few with potential, like Game 39, titled Father Earth, was kind of an interesting showcase type game. It had a bunch of planets, some of them pretty weird looking, but there's nothing to do in the game at all, it's just a little showcase. Game 73, titled Testing Area, had a picture of Shedletsky as the game icon. I thought that was funny timing. Game 90, Legends Building Place, seems like a fun retro game at first. I mean, you got monster trucks, you got some stunt jumps. What could go wrong with this? Well, you can't turn left or right while driving the truck, so your experience in the game kinda caps out at this. Epic. There are many other games in this category, what I would call, mediocre games. Most were just really boring, so I'm not gonna go through them all, but in total, they bumped the game counter up by another 20. So yeah, now we're up to over half the total games, still not having found anything good. Luckily, things do pick up a bit. The next grouping of games are the ones which I'd say still aren't very well made, but show potential and have some cool and interesting ideas here and there. Game 1, the very first game I rolled, was a Friday the 13th styled game. It has a fully modeled Camp Crystal Lake and some actual gameplay. There's even a Killer Jason NPC to chase you. Except he kind of can't actually move, so yeah. Despite this game's strong theming, it definitely has some problems. There's this house which is just completely broken. There's an NPC with whom, what do you want? I want Bro, why did he make it like this? I can't click them. My mouse is locked. You can't actually talk to because your mouse is locked to center screen. Still better than Pet Simulator. Games 8 and 44 were both Pokemon fan games, so they'll probably be getting sued by Nintendo any day now. Honestly, the only real appeal in either of these games lies in... Okay, you can tell which models the creator made themselves, bro. Laughing at how dumb the blocky Pokemon models all look. There's not much else to them. You can't actually Pokemon battle or anything, it's pretty underwhelming. Game 36, The Quest of the Path, was very strange. Basically, there's this little rainbow road, no Mario Kart, and your goal is to get to the people stuck on the other side. Thing is, the creator placed the spawn pad too far away from the path. You can't play the game. These are the stunning design choices you find in random Roblox games. I didn't want to give up that easily, and after trying every gear the game had given me, I eventually discovered something. Ragnell, design stolen from Fire Emblem, is no ordinary sword. This is... Whoa. Okay, that's my ticket right there. Come on, Ragnell, let's go. I got a magic flying sword to accompany me. Using Ragnell will glitch the gear model along with your avatar up into the sky. This allows you to gain height easily and skip past the entire path. It's so dumb. Why does the sword work like this? There's no real reward for beating the game, bar some exceptionally flat dialogue. But hey, it's about the journey, not the destination. Shout out Ragnall. Game 42 was titled My House, and you would not believe the game creator here. Jake Paul. I mean, that's even rarer than the 1 in a gazillion chance place I found later on. I mean, come on, this is Jake Paul. In this game, there's a bunch of drooling zombies outside a penthouse. There's definitely a metaphor there. And going inside the house, you can shoot Logan Paul, which I do not condone doing. You can check out Jake Paul's room, which looks like an 8-year-old decorated it. The Paul brothers are also seemingly proud gun owners. The game runs terribly, the frame drops are insane. I mean, that was an issue with a lot of these games, but it was particularly bad here. Game 54 was a fan hangout created for a character I had never heard of. Osumada-san Hangout. That's the correct pronunciation, don't look it up. My first impression of this dude was honestly that he looked a lot like John from Garfield. After some research though, aka one Google search, this is apparently a character from a manga and anime, which, from the few clips I've seen, looks very strange. Although I am slowly becoming a weeb, so I can't hate. The game itself is pretty low quality. Like, there's this locked door where you can just change the digits of the keypad to whatever you want, so I don't know how you're supposed to unlock it. Although you should definitely subscribe to Propellers, that is a very based move. Game 56 was like one of those pretty standard Robloxifications of a restaurant that you see pretty often, except this one is based off of Denny's, and there's this janky Garden of Banban alligator looking carpet inside. And apparently Denny's has heavily invested into the water park industry, because there's a giant water slide outside, which feels like a bit of a poor business choice. Like, I don't want to eat soggy pancakes, dog. Game 59 is titled NAT Train. London to airport. Sounds very proper, very British. The thing is though, this game doesn't quite get the level of realism you would hope for. Because, you know, like, disclaimer and all, I'm not an expert, I don't know the exact inner workings of trains or how they rode across the rails, but something felt kind of off with this. Like, I don't know, I'm pretty sure that they don't work like this. Also, seizure warning for what's about to happen in 3, 2, 1. Because resetting character just completely breaks the game. Yeah, this ain't it. Wakia Colors would not approve of this train. Game 60 was European. Bleh. Game 63 had this funny computer modder setup, perfect for watching Germa clips. Game 72 was kind of hellish and bleak, as much as a decade-old Roblox game can be. Game 86 held an interesting twist. It was titled Garden, and at first glance it just kind of seemed like a generic, soft, pastel-styled hangout game with a bunch of sparkle particle effects and rainbows. However, there's a mirror on this wall, shaped almost like a head, and looking into it reveals this weird crimson slash across a dead black backdrop. I assume this is just some visual glitch, I don't know exactly what from, but I thought that was neat. Game 88 was a skate park, where the skateboards don't work too well, and they're sponsored by Monster, so your skin color turns green. Game 97 was a weird old-timey army game. I actually kind of like the style of the soldier's gear they give you here. This is drip. Again, it's old school, so you don't get any military vehicles. Rather, you ride a horse who doesn't know how to walk. Game 100 was titled Don't Enter, and all it was an empty skybox with the I'm a firing my laser guy aka Shoop the Whoop from Binding of Isaac, which I thought was cute. And yeah, that about wraps up this segment. There were a bunch of other games I didn't really talk about, but those were the highlights. In total, I put 28 games into this category, meaning we've now explored 83% of the games. But I did save the best for last, because YouTube retention. Before I get into the scam games and the weirdest occurrences, I have to talk about the few underrated gems I found, like Game 13, Dolly's Dollar Diner. Nice alliteration. The game is just a simple little showcase of a restaurant build. It's nothing crazy, there's no interactive gameplay, but the building quality is leagues above pretty much every other game so far, and you can tell the creator actually made it themselves, it didn't just steal a bunch of free models. It's a chill little game with some fun details. I thought it was cool. Also, I have FNAF brain rot, and anytime I see a retro-styled restaurant, I immediately start thinking about animatronics. Game 25, Start at Grand Canyon, is very unfinished, but I really do like the style of that little sliver of the canyon we do get. Something about the idea of climbing up a big slope just really releases the dopamine in my brain. Game 27 only has a hyphen for a title. You spawn inside a cramped tunnel, which kinda gives off underground subway type vibes. Trespassers will be shot. Survivors will be shot again. Most welcoming Texan subway. A trail of money leads away from the shadows, towards a locked door, under the sightlines of a security camera. Behind the wall lies a ladder, leading upwards. And that's it. This game has a really interesting setup. It almost feels like one of those myth type games that used to be really popular, but as far as I could tell, there's no way to get past this door. I couldn't find any way to unlock it. I even went down the whole rabbit hole of learning how to clip through walls with the dance emote to try to glitch through, but that didn't end up working here. You can use shift lock to look through the walls and get a partial view of the rest of the game, and it does appear to be unfinished. There's not much more beyond this first tunnel. So yeah. The game has a strong premise, but there's not much substance. Game 29 had a similar spooky aesthetic. Cite ##, an SCP fan game. And I'll just say right now, this was by far the most complete advanced game out of the 100. The SCP facility is absolutely gigantic here. There's a ton of stuff you can actually interact with, like you do in a real game. You can join different teams. You can use keycards to open and close doors. Look at the functionality. Yeah, the bar is on the floor. There's a ton of unique SCPs and holding areas, different roles and gear, some very interesting sound design, and to me this feels like the most worthy quote-unquote hidden gem I found, because the amount of work put in here definitely should have resulted in more than 180 visits. That said, I can kinda see why this game didn't take off. For one, a lot of things are broken, especially around the facility. There are roofs with no collision, gaps in the floor that cause you to fall into the void, and the layout of the map is hopelessly confusing. I have no idea how anyone would ever know where to go in this game. The hallways and doors all look the exact same, and the design of the facility is maze-like. The SCPs also aren't exactly of the highest quality. They kinda look like they're from Illumian Legacy. Your gun is about as effective versus them as a water pistol. I don't want to dog this game too hard, cause again, it is way higher quality than 90% of the others, but I can't lie and say that it was very fun. Game 57 was a surprisingly accurate remake of the game Hello Neighbor, because it's just about as terrible as the real thing. Listen, I know it's supposed to be the good game section, but the only reason I rank Hello Neighbor No Escape this highly is because of the neighbor's house, which is reasonably well made and a good concept to boot. I actually like some of the earlier versions of Hello Neighbor. I feel like the idea of exploring a comically oversized funhouse full of wacky puzzles is pretty fun on paper. Unfortunately, this game captures none of that magic. There's literally nothing to do or interact with. Like, it's essentially just a building showcase. You can't pick up any items or solve any puzzles or do anything or escape the house at all. So yeah, I guess the title's accurate. Game 62 is a neat little Roblox recreation of a FNAF game. Some designs definitely look like they're tweaking, but I mean overall it's not bad. The office in particular is solid. I like the goofy posters up on the walls and how the door and lighting systems actually function. The only knock against this game is that the spawn pad puts you outside the map, meaning the only way you can actually get in and access the content I just talked about is to use an emote to clip inside, which isn't very hard but it's just janky. Finally, the last game of this grouping is number 99. Cafe Nightlights. This game embraces a pretty neat aesthetic, which helps set it apart from the bazillion other cafe games. I really like the scenery with the little dots of light around the black sky, as basic as the modeling is. The interior is pretty boring, there's not a whole lot going on. After exploring for a bit, I saw some kitchen equipment out of bounds, and out of curiosity, I tried to clip onto it. Unless it's maybe right here. This would have to be the spot. Ooh. Oh my god, I'm actually a god gamer. So yeah, pretty basic game, but I like the pretty lights in the sky. Those 7 games bring us up to 90 total, which just leaves the final 10, the weirdest games I encountered. First of all, there's game 41, the reward place. It looks like just an empty base plate with a Robux pile in the middle, but touching said money... Wait, this is actually a scam game. I actually found a scam game? That's kind of cool, bro. These are like really retro. This type of scam has not been around for a while. Yeah, funny as it sounds, this scam was actually pretty nostalgic for me. Back around 2016, I was one of those little goobers who would actually try joining and playing free Robux games. And I remember running across this particular scam many times. It was kind of nice to see it again. Don't actually give us your password. The other type of scam game I found was a lot less fun though, and actually was surprisingly far-reaching. It all started with game 11. The title was Ben 10 Tycoon, but the game itself was just some unrelated generic slop tycoon game with about 1 million game passes, and an Among Us statue in the center, which I appreciated. This was the only game out of the 100 which had any other people playing it. I made note of that, but otherwise I didn't think much of it. It just seemed like a basic little trendy tycoon game. But then, a while later, as I was loading into the 51st game, Super Mansion Tycoon 2, I ended up in the exact same game. It seems like the developer of this scummy tycoon game had created a ton of fake places with trendy titles and thumbnails to try to attract players, and when you joined any one of them, it would just funnel you straight back to the original here. I ended up getting sent back to this game 2 more times, with games 53 and 91, both of them using the false titles and thumbnails of other popular games. Using the 100 game sample size, that would indicate that 4% of Roblox games lead back to this stupid ass tycoon game, which obviously isn't true. Nerd emoji, this is a very small sample size, but still, it's really funny to imagine that. Game 40 had the look of one of those super generic, oversaturated, scammy obby games, except the creator put the spawn point in the middle of the map, so you just fall to your death forever. And yeah, those were all of the scam games I found. Honestly, I was expecting more, but yeah. That just leaves 4 games. These are the outliers, the ones where something weird outside of the game happened. First up, there's game 20. This one was just called Obby. Hope you like it. And after playing it for a bit, it seemed normal. It was just the default Roblox Studio Obby template with a few free models and Roblox characters thrown in. But then, after sitting in the game for about 2.5 minutes, something unexpected happened. Can't get rid of that guy. Souls reference? Oh, what just happened? Okay, the game just randomly teleported me somewhere else. I don't know why that happened. It's trying to teleport. What is happening? Does that game have a virus in it? It seems like the OG game had some sort of malicious script in one of the free models, which I guess teleports people to this place, which then tries to teleport them somewhere else for some reason. I don't know, it's weird. There was also game 49, which was just called Bussin'. The place itself is entirely unremarkable. It's just a default modern starter place. What's really confusing about this game though is that the day after recording here, while I was looking back through everything I played, I saw that the game's title had been changed to what? Help, and it had also been privated, which was really confusing. I still don't know if this was like the most insane coincidental timing of all time, or if the creator saw someone was playing their game so they decided to private it. I was there for less than a few minutes, so that seems really unlikely, but yeah, I don't know. Finally, the last 2 games comprise what is seemingly by far the rarest occurrence in this video. Game 66, Welcome to Life, was just a basic little hangout area with a bunch of free models, and this nightmare fuel Bloxy trophy morph. The game really isn't anything that special, it's not that unique, so why am I talking about it here? Well, game 76 was also Welcome to Life. It was the exact same game, same creator, same place ID, literally the exact same. The odds of this are literally like 1 in tens of billions. Which is why I don't think that Super Place Roulette's randomness works perfectly. The odds of genuinely rolling the same place within 10 rolls of each other too is just so cosmically small that I feel like this had to have been the result of some quirk in the game selection process. And I also noticed some other trends with the games that were selected. The biggest one being that the vast majority were very old games. I didn't highlight them as much throughout the video because they were generally much more boring, but I got sent to a ton of places made around 2010, and I found extremely few modern ones. I don't even know if I got sent to any games that were made later than like 2020. I feel like there's something going on behind the scenes there. Regardless, that is 100 random Roblox games documented. What did we learn from all this? Hello Neighbor sucks. Yeah, but for real, big thanks to all the channel members. As you can see, we got a ton of people signing up. If you want to see me play 100 actually good, mostly good, real Roblox games and rank them all, good video. Subscribe, leave a like, only takes 1.4 seconds, and comment what the best game here was. Yeah.